to my very first original character speed date. I am making these because I thought it was fun to talk a little bit about my characters so you can get to know them a bit. And this one, Little Coyote, is kind of my first OC, although she was really more so my first identity. I typically used her way back when I was a kid to roleplay online, I guess you could say. I mean, my friends and I mostly did like Looney Tunes type skits, and we had a lot of fun with that. But she, as you can see, is a coyote, but she's also a magical coyote that can transform into girls and other things. Oh, other forms of being from humanoid to full on furry. I guess you could say I chose a coyote because I was reading a lot about everything related to magic, and having an inner guide or a spiritual animal familiar of sorts sounded really cool to middle school me. So my mom, also very interested in the witchy stuff, kind of already identified as a coyote, so I kind of followed in her footsteps, became a little coyote because I was her kid. But mostly I used Little Coyote to roleplay online, like I said. My friends and I would just goof around in our animal personas, and eventually that kind of evolved when webtoons started to get really big, as to me wanting to take the little coyote and make her into her own webtoon story, which, as somebody growing up who always wanted to be an artist, being able to tell stories and draw things, already I was on the line of I want to make my own comics. So Little Coyote just kind of became the big night character in a story I started to write with my friends, which eventually became a story called Buttons Too Hyper to Think, but, we never really finished it. We posted some of it on Keen Space, but we had trouble with that layout, and we weren't really all set up with that kind of thing. Eventually I got my own domain space and posted those comics on Tumblr, but you got Little Coyote here. Just kind of became the biggest antagonist among her friends, I guess you could say. Like, where her friends were content on doing stuff, she would come in and kind of shake things up, which is kind of what I do in real life. What I wrote on her little profile is, where I'm usually quieter and bookish, she's louder and childish. But yeah, I definitely, when I play her, I bring in wild animal, dog, high energy, and if she gets hungry, try to eat her friends. It's not a big deal. She never does it, never gets to, at least. They won't let her, and she might pout about that, but she's usually easily distracted by other treats and things. It's kind of fun having that little bit of an id personality to play around with, and so that was kind of what Little Coyote eventually came to me. Made me not necessarily a fursona, because whereas I find coyotes interesting, I wouldn't want to be one full time. I think that's probably the main difference. I just have too many things that are human that I enjoy. But anyway, if you want to read up on more about Little Coyote, I'll link the comics in the description. Sorry, it's a really long domain from Angel Fire. And be sure to come back tomorrow, or I'll talk about Daisy Diddle. Thank you.